back to Star TV. On today's lovely episode, we're going to be talking about the topic of how your enemies will push you into the pit just for you to wind up at the palace. Right before we get into today's lovely episode, make sure you guys subscribe to Star TV, where you get a new episode every week. Make sure you guys like this video, drop a comment down below, let Star know what you think, and make sure you guys hit the bell down below and press all so you will be notified each and every time Star posts a new video. Let's get right into it. Some people will devise a plan to pull you down, not knowing they are pushing you closer to God's plan of elevation for your life. You guys, we live in such a wicked and cruel world where sadly, everybody doesn't have a pure heart and everybody doesn't have pure motives and pure intentions. And so oftentimes, when people despise you, when they dislike you due to whatever it may be, whether it's low self-esteem on their part or just the fact that they are unhappy with themselves, most likely unhappy with where they're at in life, some people project that energy onto other people. Oftentimes, it's because they are at war within themselves. But let me tell you something, you guys, even your enemies are a part of God's plan for your life. When they push you into the pit, some way, somehow, you're gonna wind up at the palace. You guys, just a short backstory. There's this beautiful story in the Bible. Maybe you guys have heard it, maybe you haven't. It's about Joseph. And Joseph in the Bible, you know, he was a regular kid. He had a lot of brothers. And for some reason, Joseph was a dreamer. He had dreams, and then he interpreted these dreams with God's help. A lot of us have dreams, and we don't even know what they mean. But God would give Joseph the meaning to not only his dream, but other people's dreams. So one day Joseph had a dream, and in this dream, the sun and the moon were bowing to him. And this symbolized that one day he would become someone so mighty, so great, and so prominent in life. So he decided to share the dream with his brothers. Now, Joseph was his father's favorite child, and because of this, his father gave him a cloak-like coat with many colors. So his brothers already were jealous of him and already envied him because he had so much favor with his father. But once they heard about the dream that Joseph had, and he told them because he trusted them, those were his siblings, they realized that Joseph was going to become somebody great in life, and God had revealed it. So what do people do when they're jealous, when they're envious, when they're mad that you're going to be in a position that they wish that they could be in? They try to bring you down and they try to sabotage you. You guys, looking at the story of Joseph, his brothers betrayed him. They sold him into slavery because they thought that this would stop his greatness. They thought, okay, if we push him into the pit, if we sell him into slavery, he's never going to make it big. He's never going to become a leader. And that dream that he had, it won't come true because we're going to sabotage him and we're going to put an end to him and we're going to stop him. So later on in the story, Joseph was a slave for 13 years. But even though he was a slave, he knew God had a plan because he knew what he saw in his dream. He knew what he saw in that vision of the night that God gave him. So after doing 13 years in prison, long story short, Joseph interpreted the dream of Pharaoh, the Pharaoh of Egypt, and he gained favor with Pharaoh. So Joseph went from rags to riches. He became the governor of Egypt, a person of high esteem, a person of stature, a person of status. And you know what happened? His brothers who sold him into slavery, right? They had came from the land, from a certain land of where they lived. I forgot the name of it. They traveled to Egypt. They were begging for bread because they were so hungry and it was a famine back where they was from. So they came to Egypt and they were looking for the king, and they asked Joseph, for food. They asked him for things that they needed. But the whole time, they didn't know that that person who was dressed in silk and gold, that person who, you look at him, you just know that he's wealthy, that person of status, that was the brother that they sold into slavery. They didn't recognize that that was their own brother that they betrayed. And you guys, let me tell you guys something. In this season, God is making us unrecognizable to our enemies. Yes, they try to sabotage us. Yes, they try to plot and plan against us. Yes, they devised a plan to pull us down, and they think they won. They think they got away with it. The whole time, God is transitioning us to the palace. Soon, these people won't be able to recognize you. These people won't be able to believe that when they try to pull you down, God has risen you up. They won't believe the place where God is taking you. And just like Joseph, the same people that pulled you down will come to you begging for mercy. They will come to you begging for bread. Those will be the same people in need. And 9 times out of 10, 4 to 5 years from now, those will be the same people watching you on TV. Those will be the same people who are outside in the crowd when you're passing by, when you've made it. Those will be the same people saying how, oh, I used to be around him or her. Yeah, before they made it, I had an opportunity to actually talk to them one-on-one. I used to be this close to that person. Those will be the people telling other people how they used to know you, how they used to be around you. And they'll be flabbergasted that, yeah, we try to pull this person down. We try to sabotage them. We push them into the pit, hoping that we were successful and that this person never made it. Whole time, now you are in the palace. Now your enemies are begging for mercy. And I love the saying that God will prepare a table for you in the presence of your enemies, because those who look down at you will soon look up to you. They didn't know where you were going to wind up. They pretended they wanted the best for you. Whole time you winded up at the palace. You're building online businesses. You're focusing on your acting career, your modeling gigs. You're in preparation to walk into that limelight, yet they have no idea. That's a key example of how your enemies will push you into the pit and you wind up at the palace. You guys, let's get into number 2. Every great person has an enemy that has a plan to betray them. So another example, you guys, I want to use is the story of Jesus. Jesus was on the earth and he walked with 12 disciples. These are people that he talked with, he dined with, he laughed with. And yet he chose 12 of them. And he knew one of them was an enemy. One of them would betray him. One of them would bring about his demise and his death. But he chose those 12, even though one was an enemy, because he knew, Jesus knew, that even our enemies are a part of God's plan. And so you have to look at your enemies with love, because I need you to ridicule me. I need you to talk bad about me. I need you to paint my face black to other people. I need you to plot and plan my demise, because at the end of the day, you are pushing me into my season of glory. We all know Judas. Judas was a friend of Jesus, yet he betrayed Jesus for money. And we see so many instances and so many scenarios like this. But even though he betrayed Jesus and Jesus was crucified, 3 days later he rose from the dead and he is seated at the right hand of the Father, having the glory of the Father's one and only Son. Now Jesus is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. So he needed to betray him, right? And once Jesus died and shed that blood, our sins were forgiven. There was a chance for us to be forgiven by God, a chance for us to be redeemed, a chance for us to get closer to God. So Judas thought that he was putting an end to Jesus when he was only causing Jesus to die right? So the Lord could bring him back to life and he can rise and give millions of people around the world life. So you guys, what I'm saying is your enemies are a part of the plan. Okay, so pray for your enemies, love your enemies, and number 3, forgive your enemies, because everything they do against you is a part of God's plan. And when you look at life this way, it's so easy to forgive people. It's so easy to look at people and go in peace. It's so easy to look at people and to not hold things against them. And that's where I'm at. I'm in the place now where I can literally look people in the face and be peaceful, and keep my composure and still always walk with grace, talk with grace, and act with grace. Because you know that everything is a part of God's plan. Every negative answer is a part of God's plan. Every plot and plan to bring about your destruction, your demise, or your downfall is a part of God's plan. And sometimes people are even surprised, like, okay, I just told Star this. She has no reaction. She doesn't seem upset. She's not, begging and crying and pleading, even though this is bad news. But it's because Star is enlightened. Star has revelation. I know that, okay, this is a part of God's plan. And I'm not going to fight God's plan. I'm going to continue to act with grace because I have a plan for my life, which is God's plan. And I know that I'm rising to the top. Star Gang, I know that you guys are rising to the top. You guys are elevating. There's going to be people in your path that will specifically attack you month after month, day after day, week after week. But don't look at them as people that you have to fight. Know that God is using them to build you up, to strengthen you, so you can have tough skin, so you can work on your character and still show them grace, even when you want to box people down. Okay, I know it's not easy. Like, there are some people you literally have to talk to and you got to be polite, but you really just want to box them up. When you don't give in to anger and you still show love, know that God is pleased, because that means that your character is building. And just remember, everything is not worth a reaction. People are looking for a reaction. Sometimes people are dying to get you to become emotional. Don't give people that. Take everything in with grace and know that there is a plan that you don't see and it's bigger than you. But as long as you continue to know that all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord, you are blessed. And last but not least, this is tip number 4 that you need to know. Because when they push you into the pit, you're going to wind up right at the palace. When people set traps for you, they will then fall into it themselves. And you guys, I know a lot of people are really deep into spirituality. Some people believe that what comes around goes around. That's karma. I believe that too. And a lot of people believe, God will take vengeance and repay your enemies. I believe that's sort of the same thing. What comes around goes around. What you put out is what you will receive. What you do to others, the Lord will repay you, and you will pay a price for what you do to other people. And you guys, I just have to tell you this. When people set traps for you, know that there will come a time where they will then fall into that very trap. These people will experience shame. They will experience disgrace. They will experience exposure, all because they tried to bring you down. They could have avoided it if they would have just left you alone, but they didn't. And so what comes around goes around. We don't have to do anything to the people that purposely try to bring us down, to the people that purposely try to bring about our demise, because just know whatever they do to you is coming back to them. It may not happen in the first month or two, but know and trust that it is coming. And this is why I say we don't have to fight our enemies, because God will fight them for us. We don't have to get revenge on people, because the Most High, he says, vengeance is mine. I will repay, saith the Lord. Just like Joseph's brothers, they sent him into slavery, right? They sent him into slavery as a slave. And they thought they got away with it. They thought, yes, Joseph is a slave. He's not going to become anything, of status, anybody of stature. And then what happened? After his brothers sold him into slavery, many years later, when they thought they got away with it, there was a famine in their land and they had no food and they were struggling and they were hungry and thirsty. And so then they had to travel to Egypt to beg the governor of Egypt for food, not knowing that the person they was begging for bread was the same person they sold into slavery. I'm here to tell you guys, may our enemies beg us for bread. May our enemies see us, right, years from now and not be able to recognize us because of where God is taking us. You guys, this was a heavy word in my spirit because I feel like there's a lot of people who are discouraged. There's a lot of people who suffer from being sabotaged by people that don't like them for no reason, people who are jealous of them, people who just hate them without cause. And you feel bad inside because you feel like you've been sabotaged. You feel like you've been let down. But let me tell you something. It's a part of the plan and you are about to come out on the winning side. I don't know about you guys, but Star TV, Star Gang, we have the favor of God on this side. God is on our side. So we always come out on top. We always come out on the winning side. You got to declare it and you got to believe it so you can receive it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you guys like and comment. Until next time, Star will see you soon. Peace.